It might have been root files.
Yeah, it's not just the extension that you need to get. You actually need to install .NET Core yourself
Okay.
onto your device.
I'll ask you about it after.
I mean, if Visual Studio works, then
It's kind of working. Like you were like, that looks like it should work.
Yeah. Cool. So, couple things. I did want to one like very quick thing. Make sure that everyone that's using Visual Studio, when we're creating a new project, make sure that you're choosing console app. This name is whatever, and make sure that you're on .NET 6.0, which is the LTS version. Because I've actually had a couple people message, not in this group, asking like, why isn't this working? Particularly around in assignment 4 with the
Greater than
case
less
conditionals.
than.
Yeah,
You said
exactly.
greater than less than didn't work, eh? And
Yeah.
compilers. Yeah.
Yeah, the online compiler doesn't support the case.
I think Pac said he found a way to do it, but it was like weird. He had to put it in as like the curly bracket statement or something. He found a way to make it work, but it was odd.
But if it's departing too far from the docs, I'd encourage folks not to go down that loop. But anyway, so just make sure you're on .NET 6.0. Anywho, so this week's assignment, I think a couple of us are already done. I think Mona, it sounds like you wrapped it up. I finished it over the weekend. Anish, I'm not sure how far along you are.
No, I'm gonna start today.
Okay, cool. And I think Ryan, you're polishing off assignment.
I'm a little behind, but with the compilers working, I got through assignment 4 at about a quarter, probably even less than a quarter of the speed of assignment 3. So like I'm going way faster. So
nice.
Things are working.
So we'll do like a kind of a brief sort of make sure everyone's on the same page with like sort of the tech that we need. So we have do while loops and we have while do loops. Guys, are you familiar with the difference between the two, the syntax and all of that?
Not overly myself. I don't know about everybody else, but
sure, we can do a quick interlude. And one of the great things about Visual Studio actually is it does a lot of the fill in the blanks. So the do while, so the difference between the two is basically when the while condition executes for the first time. So the do and this is going to be all kind of while true. We'll just put true here. So the do loop, basically what this does is it'll run everything in the curly braces. So all the stuff here, however much you want. So like if you want to, console write line, hello. This will just write hello so long as this condition is true.
And is while statements like, is it always a Boolean, true, false, or can you use other?
It is. So it'll always evaluate to a true statement, true false statement, right? Because if you do like, while I is less, or while int I is less than 5, this is at its, well, no, this at the end of the day is still a true false statement, right? Because I can either be less than 5 or greater than 5. So it'll always evaluate down to a true false. It just might need, like you might want to have it calculate a few times before, right? And one of the examples that they shared in class was exactly this, right? Where you wanted to execute.
Yeah,
if you wanted to execute 5 times.
I remember the one you went over.
Yeah, so you can be like I plus.
I can check back to it. Yeah.
So in theory, this would kind of print hello 5 times, right?
Yeah, it was one of the ones he gave
Oh
us.
no, it
Like
broke.
one of the starter console codes. Oh
It
wow.
broke. Oh, maybe I have to do it inside.
Is it because there's
I forget exactly.
no read line at the bottom, or does
No,
that matter?
you don't need the read line.
I guess because you only have the one right line.
Interesting.
It's okay. You can move on to the other
whatever.
stuff. I remember this from class.
I
I
think we
do.
should mention about the initial value for I.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably it. Int I equals 0.
Yeah,
Yeah. Give it a start
and
value.
remove the second int. Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
Nice.
Way to go. Look at you. So it prints it 5 times. And if you start int I at like 3, then it'll print it 3, 4 twice.
And so then you're just
Twice.
reversing your order for the other. It's your Boolean statement first and then do stuff after.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But the key difference is, so if we start int I at 7, this will still run once.
Okay.
And it'll be like, oh, the while loop kicked in, int is now greater than
Gotcha.
7, we stop. Whereas if you do while I is greater than 5 or less than 5, in theory, this should not write goodbye if I did this right. Yeah, so it just printed hello once. So it's really where the check is happening.
Okay.
That's key. The other thing I did want to make, actually, is that clear for everyone?
Yeah, it's just you'd get that from the logic of your statement, I'm assuming, like which one you're using first, do versus while would just be in your question, like you'd kind of get your logic from your question, right?
Yeah, generally speaking, it'll I mean, so I don't think it's necessary to use any or it doesn't make a huge difference for any of these, because we're incrementing from a set number already.
Yeah.
That's less than our counter. But yeah, just when you're doing this, make sure that you have a correctly set up counter. Like Mona pointed out, you have to sort of initialize your counter, and you make sure to refer to it in your condition, and then you make sure to actually increment your counter, right? So those are the 3 sort of key aspects. Have counter, increment counter, include counter in while condition, right? Because so these 2 let you, or actually these 3 together let the program know when to stop, right? Because I do want to show sort of this example that I threw together earlier, which basically you can see it, the condition is just true. So it doesn't have my counter at all. So this is just going to keep running forever. Like I'm just growing I and I'm just writing I. And just for your reference and for the team's reference, if you ever get into this situation where there's a sort of endless loop and you have to break out of it, on Windows, it's Control-C. So Control-C kills the process. I don't know what it is for Macs. I don't know if Mona or Amina, you guys are on Macs or not, and whether you.
I can figure it out. That type of stuff is usually easy on Google. It's more the information about how to run in proper .NET that was like impossible to find. No one even wrote about it on Stack Overflow or anything, that thing that I found. So it must be new. It kind of kills my computer though. It runs my CPU at like 60 and 70%.
Oh geez,
This computer shouldn't run that high for that.
No.
It's like the best computer there is right now.
Yeah. The other thing, just wanted to make sure that everyone's on the same page for, is the Microsoft Docs. Because so Mona called these out earlier. So the MS Docs as well as Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan, you mentioned Googling stuff, which is
Yeah.
definitely like a huge boon.
I did notice though Docs, like the Docs Microsoft stuff is really good because it's the official stuff, right?
Exactly. And they give examples, and a lot of these are
Mhm.
like pretty easy to follow.
Mhm.
And not only that, they actually give sort of example outputs.
Yeah.
I think their search is pretty good.
Yeah, it looks good.
Well, C#.
Sweet.
And it's like, there's the basic for statements, and then they get to for each. Apparently there's a whole bunch of other
I'll just add
stuff
it to
with
my
stuff.
bookmarks because that's a
Um,
good page. Yeah.
but yeah, the Microsoft Docs are like super good.
Because I find sometimes I would get into some of the other ones that were a very basic example, and I was just like, this just is not giving me. And then I'd find ones like that, and it was a lot easier to, make something with it.
Yeah. And then the only other thing that from a tech perspective that I wanted to chat through before diving into questions was the string.format class or whatever this does. Mona, I'm not sure if you could kind of walk us through, because I found the docs on string.format.
You guys use that for tables, eh? Was it for tables?
Made a table. Yeah, I made a table with the string.format. Yeah.
So it was very interesting because it, like when I was looking at the docs, let me just try and find it. String.format C#. So this is the string.format one, and this is the string interpolation one. I think no, it's not this one. I can't. There was another one that I found that I think I sent on WhatsApp that read exactly the same, but was not string interpolation. Where is it?
You mean it gave the same definition?
Oh, it is string format.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it is string.format.
So this is where you found the info for the tables?
Yeah. So
yeah.
What I found interesting with this is, so you can, oh, I get it. I understand now. So string.format, I guess, that's just similar to, so when you use it, did you create a new string and then you wrote the string?
Yeah. And I had some brackets. I don't know if I can, is it possible to share the code or not?
Yeah, you could like just copy it into the chat or something.
Because Anish had asked, and the prof did reply to say that it was okay for us to, like, not share answers, but look at code.
No, I'm not gonna share the answer, the whole answers. I'm gonna just share just one line.
Yeah, the section.
Yeah, just the section in the chat here. It's about just making the columns. Yeah, it starts with 0 means this the first column, 1 means the second column, and 10 is the space. Yeah, spaces that you can have.
Yeah, so this is a lot cleaner than how I did it.
Yeah, it's very simple, and I answered the last questions just maybe in 6 lines.
Wow.
Yeah,
good for you. That's awesome.
It was my first time that I used this code.
That's great.
Yeah,
it worked out great.
So the alternative, I think, So there's actually a couple of different ways that I've seen how string.format works. In newer versions of .NET, you should be able to actually delete string.format and just use the $sign. And this should also do the same.
Yeah, for the next step, because we have to, exactly. We have to fill in some values under the columns, and we can use the dollar before the quotation. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Interestingly, this is the index form. The index isn't pulling in this.
Exactly.
Which is different. Interesting.
Not pulling in which, sorry?
So you can see here that it printed 0, 1, 2, and 3 instead of year, depreciation, end of value.
Gotcha.
When it should print out oh, I broke it. Oh no, there it is. When it should print out year, depreciation, end of value, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Other ways of approaching this. So you'll just to break down, and Mona, jump in if I'm wrong here. So the first piece in the curly braces, like when it's 0, that refers to the 0 index of the other stuff. After the
no, it's 0 refers to year, 1 refers to the second column. Yeah,
that's what I meant. Like the 0. So this is basically an array of values, and it counts up from 0, 1, 2, 3. So you could, if you wanted to, go 0, 0, 0. And I'll delete this for now.
I didn't try it. You can
and this should
run
print
it,
out year.
Year, exactly. This was my problem, because I couldn't figure it out, that what is the first number, and I could solve it, but change it the first numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so there's other ways of doing this as well, just for folks' reference. We can also do, so if we do year, 0, 10, 0, sorry, no, 10. And depreciation 20, say. This should print something similar to what Mona had. Yeah. So I don't have the bars.
You can remove this, I don't know what you call it, this character. You can remove it, because I had problem with this, and I removed it in second in my second line.
Oh, did you?
Because it makes it a little bit messy. You have to play with the numbers to make it specified, and I solved the last question. I had just 2 lines in do while, just 2 lines.
I can't remember how many I had. I had.
You can fill in all your values in this structure that I sent to you.
Yes. Yeah.
In do while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very it's a very elegant program to print out this table. Mine is a little bit longer.
When I use the name versus the number kind of thing.
Well, so like when I printed mine, you can see how I had to play with the values.
Gotcha.
To make it all line up.
Yeah. For your spacing, you mean there? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I wanted my stuff to be on 2 rows instead of
the characters to line up.
But yeah, you can see like this had to be 24 characters long versus this
Yeah.
one 21. But yeah,
It's almost like you were doing web development type design stuff in the C#.
yeah. But anyway, back to this sort of syntax. Basically, what this means is, so the first number here refers to the index in the array that you want. So year, depreciation, and a value, blah, blah, blah. And then this 10 is how long you want it to be. And so I believe if we do 3 here, it'll actually cut off the longer ones.
Yeah.
Oh no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's select second. The third. No. 1, 2, 3.
You changed the first number, right? Not the second?
Yeah. If
I
you
changed the first. I thought it would truncate at a max of 10, but I guess it doesn't.
it select the third item in the column.
Right, but then this
Yeah.
10 is supposed to give.
10 is the space.
It's still giving
The-
longer
yeah.
than 10.
Yeah, so it's not.
If you can make it, you can put 20.
So this
Yeah.
so this number doesn't reduce. So you'll
Put
never
like
lose
3
data.
and see if
Yeah. So
It
if we put it
cut
as,
if your data is longer than that 10, it will cut it.
it doesn't though, right?
No, it doesn't, because he's
Like-
got it at 1 there and
No.
it's showing full.
Because I changed it to 3-1, which should just have A,
Oh, okay, yeah.
but it
yeah.
doesn't cut it.
We're just talking about the characters, yeah, for length.
But I guess if it's a greater than, so I guess it's a minimum versus a maximum.
Okay. Because would this not run, you think?
This ran.
Oh,
So
okay.
this made this string 100 characters.
Oh, I see.
But
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
make it, I didn't have enough time to play with that. If you make at the 100 to 1, what happens?
It didn't change it.
So
It
if
still
this
I-
read
goes
the full. I
like
think it
this?
maybe probably just added 1 character in front of the thing. And it still reads out the full thing.
no,
name.
it didn't add any
Mhm.
extra space.
Huh.
Um,
Doesn't change anything almost, but it did when you
Yeah.
had longer. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just for additional characters in front.
yeah.
Maybe
So
just-
it makes the minimum width. So this would set the minimum width, I guess, is what it looks like. Versus the
Be a good thing to ask
and if you
prof
plug something
too.
in larger, then it'll grow. So something to keep in mind. Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought
It would
that
work
it
like
doesn't
that. eh?
truncate, but I guess it does.
Maybe
And
there's a different function for truncating or something.
potentially. And
is
Mona, I
unusual.
think what you can also put in like if this was an integer, you could also put in like the actual format rules here, the way that we used to do with
Currency or whatever there.
with the dollar sign. So like this should
Yes.
turn it to
yes, I did.
currency.
Yeah.
What? Why didn't it work?
Hmm.
Why isn't it not saving? What the heck's going on here? Oh, right. I'm not referring to the right one. 0. Yeah. So
Yeah,
like
there
you
it
can see
does.
that it
Yeah.
formatted it as a currency. So definitely very useful, like using either string format or the dollar sign.
Yeah.
Very useful.
Mhm.
Cool. So we've talked through all of that stuff. I'm gonna undo a bunch of stuff because I deleted it. And that's actually all the sort of technical stuff that I wanted to kind of chat through. Definitely thanks, Mona, for jumping in there as well. String format is pretty neat.
No worries.
It looked like you were able to use it well too, like concisely and stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sure it wasn't quick, but good for you. To learn new or try and put new stuff in, I always find is tricky.
So in terms of the questions then, how did folks feel after like a read through or what have you? Or
I've only read
issues?
them myself, so I just noticed obviously the difficulty, like most, progresses as it gets lower, but didn't look terrible. Yeah,
I mean, all of these. Ooh, my meeting is ending in 10 minutes. Okay, so we have 10 minutes. Shit. Yeah, so like with what we talked about today, with like the do while loop and the while do loop, we can basically do any of like all of these are relatively straightforward.
You could use either kind of thing.
Yeah, and so long as you remember that you need the counter, you have to increment the counter, and you have to have the counter in the while condition. Folks should be fine.
That counts your loops basically, eh? Like how many times it's going to execute the loop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only other sort of technical thing that we might need is the mod operator. So that's sort of the
modulus for the division thing.
Yeah. So that's the percentage sign. Basically 5 mod 2 equals 1, right? Because the remainder of 5 divided by 2 is 1. Okay. So the mod operation is just looking for remainder. Yeah, it just returns the remainder of an equation. So.
And then you're comparing whether things match that or don't, basically, like on a question. Like if it was like a division of 5 or not, you'd say it does or doesn't match that modulus.
Exactly. Like if it's a multiple of 5, then the like x mod 5 would be 0 because there wouldn't be a remainder. Okay.
And so you'd write it like you did there, 5 mod 2, but in that loop section kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. And there is like a number of these used nested ifs within the loop. So that's something that definitely keep in mind to separate out, when you're thinking about it, you have a loop that you want to do something. So set up the loop and then set up the insides of the loop of the stuff that you want it to do. So you can avoid getting confused and stuff. Does anyone have any like questions? I know it's a little bit earlier on in the week, and definitely no pressure that folks are done with the assignment before we chat. But in terms of like if we've had a read, any problems with understanding or confusion with some of the logic with these statements?
Okay, hi everyone.
Hello.
I wanted to ask something about number 8. So there's the last part. I just want like where it says you will need a counter but not as a loop terminator. What does that mean?
I don't really. Oh, yes. So like in class, we had sort of a counter, right? So we have I being our counter. Yeah. And every time the loop ran, I would go up by 1. And then when here, when I equals, or I is greater than 5, that terminates the loop. So our counter here is what terminates the loop, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, here, we have a sum. And the sum is basically the total of numbers that the users entered.
Yeah.
So that's not counting up each time the loop executes. It counts up when our user puts in a value.
100.
Exactly. So like if our
Yeah.
user was like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, the loop would just keep on going, right? And the reason this is important is here, when we use the counter, or like when we're counting the average, we actually do need to know how many numbers the user entered. So if they put in, 15 zeros, that still plays into our average calculation, right? Because it would be like we hit 100. Like if they do 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 100, oops, we've broken 100, but our average is all of these, which would be like, I don't know, there's like 15 zeros or whatever. So the average would be like 10 or whatever. So we still need to count how many numbers they put in, but it doesn't end
Then
our
it be equal to 100 or it should exceed 100?
exceed. So like if they put in
Yeah.
150 or whatever.
It should be like something like 101 or more, right?
Yeah. So like when your incremented sum is greater than 100.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, and how does the computer like divide the amount of number like the user enters? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So
Like
so
if
you
you
would
know
have
the
to.
numbers, so you can say divide by 4, divide by 5, but then you don't know how many times the user will enter. So how do you find the average?
Well, you do, right? Because if you have an increment, if you have like in this example, I is going up from 0 up to whatever, right?
Yeah.
Say while true. So right now I will always go up. So since I is always going, I goes up every single time the loop runs, you do have a way of tracking how many times you've gone in that circle of ask for a number, add the number to the sum, ask for the number, add the number to the sum, et cetera, until this condition evaluates to false. Then your iterator stops iterating, and then you have your total, right? So that's what they mean by you need a counter, because this will count how many times the loop executed, but you're not using it to end the loop. You're using the sum to end the loop.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Somehow, yeah.
And most of the other questions you use the same, whereas you're saying you're kind of using two different ones in this one almost.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you have to have
7, 8, and 9 have separate the idea of the iterator, like the incrementer, sorry, being also the loop terminator.
Whereas this one, you're using the I counter to count loops and the sum as a terminator.
Exactly. So you have two different variables that you're kind of trying to track. Because yeah, if you look here, how do I run this? Like again, so I is going to keep growing. So this is every single time the loop goes in a circle, it grows, right? So if you have something else in here that asks for a number and adds it, once you and you use that sum as the condition here, when this evaluates to false, then this counter will stop running, and then you can use that to calculate your average. So hopefully that makes sense. We only have a minute left. So we might need to just wrap it up real quick, unless anyone has any burning questions that they can go through in a minute.
Good. Oh, thanks a lot again, Jason. It was really helpful.
Thank you, Jason. Thank
No,
you,
thanks you guys for being here, and Mona as well for bringing up string format. That's definitely a new thing that I haven't seen
It was
before.
cool to see.
No worries.
Thanks, Mona.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Alrighty, less than a minute left. So thanks, guys and girls. We'll chat soon. And I guess
Right.
if anything comes up in the between now and Sunday, feel free to message in the Teams chat. We can work through things there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds
Awesome.
good, guys. See you
Bye-bye for now.
later.
Bye. See you later.
Bye, folks.